Aviation fuel powers the world's aircraft, supporting countless commercial, general, and military flights each year. From jet fuel to avgas, this vital resource comes in various grades and compositions. In this video from Epic Flight Academy, we'll explore what aviation fuel is, how it's used, safety issues, and the future of sustainable aviation fuel. Before we get started, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Epic Flight Academy for more aviation tips and insights. Let's get started.
My name is Josh Rawlins. I'm the COO of Epic, and I'm also an aircraft mechanic and an IA. Aviation fuel is a little more refined than your regular car gasoline. It's more regulated. It also doesn't have some stuff that our regular car gas would have, but it has some other stuff. Like, for example, there's no ethanol in aviation fuel, but there is added things like lead that helps boost the octane more. It helps with lubrication, and the higher octane helps with detonation and having other issues in the engine. Also, there's a dye that's added to like Avgas that's in the Cessna 172. The dye helps you identify the fuel a little bit better, but it also actually helps mechanics sometimes identify leaks.
Aviation gasoline, or avgas, is specifically formulated to withstand extreme temperatures and pressures experienced in flight. Key properties like auto-ignition temperature and flash point are critical for safety. Jet fuel used in turbine engines burns at much higher temperatures, making it ideal for high-speed, high-altitude operations. At Epic Flight Academy, pilots always sample the fuel during pre-flight to check for water, debris, or discoloration. If the sample is clear, it's returned to the tank. But if there's any concern, it's reported and the aircraft is sent to maintenance. Now that we understand the importance and complexity of aviation fuel, let's break down the different types currently in use, and a few promising alternatives on the horizon. Jet A1 is widely used in turbine engines. Jet A1 is common in international operations due to its lower freezing temperature. Jet B is a naphtha-kerosene blend suitable for cold climates. It is nearly clear and can be described as straw-colored. Avgas is used in small piston-engine aircraft. It contains lead and comes in different colors. Cryogenic fuels, like hydrogen fuel, are being explored for future emission-free flights. Diesel is an emerging alternative, especially for use in smaller aircraft. Sustainable aviation fuel is a type of biofuel made from renewable resources, which aims to reduce carbon emissions. Aviation fuel is costly due to refining, high global demand, and taxes. It's typically priced by gallon, liter, pound, or energy unit, and online calculators help estimate fuel use, cost, and emissions. Additives boost efficiency and performance, and modern engines are built to reduce fuel burn. In the military, aircraft like the KC-135 and the KC-46 act as flying gas stations, refueling other planes mid-air to extend their range without landing. The environmental impact of aviation fuel is a growing concern, and new solutions are being explored to cut carbon emissions.
Sustainable aviation fuel is something that we're starting to get into and test and experiment with. Right now, some of the biggest things are actually mixing used oils, fats into fuel. So we're still using Jet A, but it's a mixture of the current fuel that we're experimenting with now and starting to see what we can do to try and correct some of this.
Countries like the US, India, and those in the EU are investing in sustainable aviation fuel research and infrastructure, while airlines and FBOs are also joining carbon offset programs to help reduce their carbon footprint. Most airports offer basic services, with fuel being the primary one, usually provided by FBOs for general aviation. Pilots often use the AirNav website to check fuel types, prices, and key airport details like runway info and communication frequencies. At Epic's home airport in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, both Jet A and 100LL Avgas are available. Epic's training aircraft use 100LL, a blue-dyed, low-lead fuel with a 100-octane rating, designed for spark ignition piston engines and widely used in general aviation. Green aviation fuel is known as 100-130 Avgas, with an octane rating of 100 under lean conditions and 130 when running a rich mixture. Using the correct fuel type is critical for safe flight. Putting the wrong fuel in an aircraft can lead to engine failure and even crashes.
Aviation engines are specifically designed to run on a certain type of fuel, and Jet A and Avgas vary quite a bit. There's a huge difference in those two fuels. If you put Jet A in one of these, it's either not going to run or you're going to have major issues or catastrophic engine failure. And the same thing for a jet engine with Avgas in it. So it's extremely important that we check what we're doing and make sure the person that's fueling the aircraft is putting the right fuel in your aircraft.
At Epic, both pilot and aircraft mechanic training cover fuel identification and proper fueling procedures to prevent these dangerous mistakes. Some real-world incidents highlight just how serious misfueling can be. In 2021, a fueler at the airport did not notice the Avgas sticker on a Beechcraft Baron 58 and fueled with Jet A, resulting in a crash that seriously injured the pilot. In 2020, an Alaska forestry plane on its way to fight forest fires crashed into a pond after taking off because the fuel vendor put the wrong fuel in. Passing teenagers who saw the crash rescued the four on board. Although the pilot signed the receipt, he did not notice it showed the wrong fuel. In 2019, a Tampa surgeon's plane crashed, killing him and his flight instructor because the fueler put Jet A in his plane instead of Avgas. This handful of examples is why we train our linemen at Epic, along with our pilots and mechanics, to be aware of how easily misfueling can occur.
That's why we're trained to look for, what the fuel looks like, even what it smells like. You can smell the difference in Avgas burning and Jet A burning and visually see the difference. So these are all things we need to know to look for when the aircraft is being fueled and be vigilant about.
Pilots always check NOTAMs too, because information can include issues on fuel availability. Here are some of the most common reasons someone might put the wrong fuel into an aircraft. Miscommunication between pilot and refueler. Verbal instructions may be unclear or misunderstood. Incorrect assumptions may be made without verifying fuel type. Similar appearance of aircraft. Fuelers may assume a plane uses a certain type of fuel based on appearance, especially if aircraft models look alike. Inadequate labeling. Mistakes are more likely if the fuel caps or tanks aren't clearly labeled with the required fuel type. If a label is worn or faded, replace it. Use of similar fuel nozzles. Jet fuel and Avgas nozzles are sometimes not properly differentiated. If adapters are used, they can bypass this safeguard. Fuel truck error. The wrong truck may pull up to the aircraft, especially at busy FBOs or during shift changes without proper documentation checks. Human error or fatigue. Fatigue, distraction, or complacency by ramp personnel can lead to skipped verification steps. Focus for safety. Unfamiliar aircraft or procedures. Pilots or ground crew may be unfamiliar with a specific aircraft's fuel requirements, increasing the risk of error. Language barriers or international procedures. Although English is the universal language for pilots, that is not the case for ground crews. In non-English speaking regions or international operations, differences in terminology or labeling can cause confusion. Incorrect assumptions by new staff. New fuelers may incorrectly generalize. Poor record keeping or lack of standard operating procedures. When pilots or others fail to follow or document proper checklists or refueling protocols, the chance of error increases. The aviation fuel industry supports thousands of jobs in refining, service, supply, and analysis. As emerging technologies take hold, new roles in alternative fuels and sustainable aviation fuel development are expanding. Here at Epic, our line crew takes care of refueling aircraft among many other related tasks. The future of aviation fuel is moving towards cleaner, more sustainable solutions. With growing awareness, new technology, and investments in sustainable aviation fuel, the industry is shifting towards a greener model. Understanding fuel types, costs, and usage is essential for pilots, mechanics, and even passengers. As aviation continues to evolve, so will its fuel, and we'll continue adapting as new innovations emerge. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new, hit the like button on this video, and subscribe so you don't miss any new aviation tips and insights from Epic Flight Academy.